when we were talking about sixth birthday, who we were going to get to talk, it seemed remiss to not kind of put me in the hot seat, and Sarah decided that it would be the best thing to do. So I'm going to talk to you about networking, and I'd like it to be really interactive, and I'd like you to all chip in either in the comments or just shouting out. But I feel like I have got some good stuff to share with you, and I'd like to do that. So why should you listen to me? So there's some of you in the room who don't know me, who have just come for the first time. Um, and if that is you, I guess I've I've been networking for probably 15 or 20 years. My hat's falling off. I've been networking for 15 or 20 years. I've attended more than 1,000 networking events in that time. And as you know, I've been hosting networking in for 6 years, and actually hosted in this life and my previous business over 150 networking events. So I kind of feel like I know what I'm talking about. I've got a really impressive. I've got, that's so wanky. I've got a decent network on LinkedIn with about 10,500 people. And I've read loads and loads of business books. And a couple of years ago, I wrote this ebook, which I'm going to share with you at the end if you like, called How to Network Like a Pro. And the reason that I can say network like a pro is the photo there is me winning Networker of the Year in 2022, which was one of the highlights of my career to date. It's something that I put on my bucket list 2 years earlier, and I failed at the first attempt, but got there at the second. So I feel like I can talk fairly well about networking. But what I'd like to do first is get you guys to shout out what you think your goals of networking are. So either in the chat or just shout it out. What are your goals when you go networking? Come on, we're being recorded here.
Show
Make
up in a marketplace.
connections.
Connections.
Create a marketplace and be part of it.
There's loads in the chat. Truly connect, meet inspiring people, community of like-minded people, learning, build relationships, loads of lovely things.
Amazing. So when I was thinking about this the other day, I think it comes down to four things for me. Ultimately, I want to build friendships with people first and foremost. I think that the key to networking is building relationships. And some of the nice things that come from those relationships and friendships are things like partnerships, strategic partners. We've heard it already in Raven Fans this morning about people referring business to each other, and that's so powerful. So those partnerships and referrals. But ultimately, guys, we are all lying to each other if we don't admit that we want to make money and we want to sell stuff. And so I think that that's really important to remember when we go networking, is ultimately at some point down the line, and that could be some considerable time down the line, we want to make some money. So with all that in mind, I've come up with some top tips that I hope you guys will find interesting and useful. And I've gone to people like Daniel Priestley, Bob Berg, Dale Carnegie, Ken Blanchard, Donald Miller, and I even made up something myself on Sunday, which I think is as good as any of those other guys, to be honest with you. You'll tell me later. So the first tip, and I think it's so often overlooked, and I think it's overlooked in business actually, to be honest, is you've got to have a goal. You've got to understand what you want to achieve when you're going network. And if it is purely about building relationships, as it is for lots of people, business is fucking lonely and tough. So if the goal is building relationships, that's absolutely fine. But you might have some other goals. Number of potential partners that you've identified, number of new clients, dare I say it, or even the number of follow-ups that you have, because ultimately those follow-ups lead to stronger relationships. So that's tip one, have a goal. Second tip, you've got to perfect your pitch. Now, fortunately, we are all very comfortable with each other, and the pitches that I heard today are all really amazing. But it's often not the case. Oftentimes I go to networking events and people are far from perfect with their pitch. And actually it's quite off-putting. So if you're starting out on your journey, one of the biggest tips that I can give you is perfect your pitch. And the best way to, I think it's so important that we developed a workshop on how to perfect your pitch. But for me, a perfect pitch contains 5 elements. It contains a hook, something that's going to actually grab people's attention right at the very beginning. Don't start with your name. Start with something that's going to make people listen, and then go through. We help such and such person to do the thing that they struggle with by doing the thing that helps them do the thing they struggle with, and then follow up with your name and a call to action. So if that's you with that pain point, speak to me. So tip 2, perfect your pitch. Tip 3, one of the most interesting things that I ever learned from any book is from this one called Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. And he talks about 7-11-4. And this is really relevant to networking because networking can really help you develop this stuff out. What Daniel Priestley says is if you want to sell more and become oversubscribed, you need the person that you want to sell to consume 7 hours of your content. So those people might spend 7 hours in your presence in networking events. They might read blogs. They might read a book if you're Fiona. They might watch your YouTube channel if you're, I can't even think of someone right now, but they might watch your YouTube channel. They might look at you on LinkedIn, Harold Floyd. They might consume 7 hours of your content just on LinkedIn. They might meet you in breakout rooms. There's lots of different ways that people can consume 7 hours of your content, but typically they're not going to buy until they have. 7 hours of content is not enough. You need 11 different interactions. So if it's 7 hours in one go, they possibly won't buy. But if those 7 hours are broken up into 11 different, as a minimum, 11 different sections, you are more likely to sell to them. But the most important thing, and why this relates to networking, is it needs to come from 4 separate locations. It's not enough to have those 11 interactions at one event. If you see that person at several different events or on LinkedIn and YouTube, as well as a networking event, you will much, much, much more likely to do business and build a relationship. So tip number 3, understand 7-11-4 and how it relates to you in your business. Tip number 4, understand KLT. We were massively fortunate to have Bob Berg speak to our audience last year. Bob Berg wrote a book called The Go-Giver, which is a phenomenal book. And he coined, for someone to buy from you or refer to you, they must first know you before they like you and finally trust you. And only when they trust you will they ever buy from you or refer to you. So understand, know, like, and trust. And I wanted to go deeper on know, like, and trust because I think it's really powerful. So what I decided to do was think about ways that you can get someone to know you. The first step. Has anyone come across the 5 R's? Otherwise known as Didn't think so, and that's because I made it up on Sunday. But the 5 R's, if you want to get someone to know you, are research, relate, reveal, reach out, and repeat. And if you do those, you can fast track anyone to get to know you. So what do I mean by so research? Who I can see Sarah laughing at me. It makes me smile. Who are they? Where are they? What do they do? At high level, who are the people that you want to bring into your network to connect with? So number 1, research. Relate. When you found out who they are, understand how you have synergy between that person. Did you go to the same school? Do you know the same networking buddy? Did you ever work at the same place? Did you travel? What are the things that will enable you to build a connection with someone? That's really, really important. The next section is reveal. You've got to make yourself visible to that person. Now, back in the olden days, you might have picked up the phone or gone knocking on the door, but now we've got LinkedIn, and it's so unbelievably easy to put yourself in front of people that we should just do that because it's easier. And to reveal yourself to someone on LinkedIn, I always go by the look, like, comment, share. If you want to like make someone aware of you, look, like, comment, share. And the reality of that is it probably goes something like look, like, comment, comment, share, look. But the fundamentals are the same. You can get anyone to know you, know who you are just by doing that. The second to last R is reach out. Use what you know from the relate to reach out to them. Hey, such and such, I see we know this person who's an absolute legend and this person who is great. I think I've been following you for a while and I think what you do is amazing. I'd love to connect. And they might or might not. And if they don't, the final R is repeat the process. Keep going. But you can do it. So that's know. Get someone to know you. Like. There are 6 secrets to getting people to like you. I am genuinely an idiot. There it is, up there. There are 6 secrets to getting someone to like you. This one comes from a guy called Dale Carnegie, and he wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. When I was studying my dissertation on entrepreneurs, this one came up more than any other. And he talks in there about 6 secrets of getting anyone to like you. And they are Slinny. First up, if you want to get someone to like you, you must smile. As my friend Fiona Brennan Scott says in her wonderful book, Breathtaking Communication, there's an impolite term called resting bitch face. And that's a face, what a face looks like when it's at rest. And you need to be really conscious of what other people see in you, because a smile is so much more powerful than a frown. So if you want to get someone to like you, it's really, really, really important that you smile. L, be a good listener, guys. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio. I, be genuinely interested in the other person. So important. If you want to get someone to like you, be genuinely interested in them. N, the single most important word in anyone's vocabulary is their name. Use it and remember it. I, talk in terms of other people's interests. You know, anyone would rather talk about the stuff that they're interested in than you're interested in. It's just a fact. So use that. And then the final I, and that's kind of wrapping it all together, is make the other person feel important. If you can do that, you can get people to like you. Slinny, love it. And then T, trust. Ken Blanchard in this book talks about trust and the importance of it. And he came up with this trust equation. And he says that in order to get anyone to trust you, C plus R plus I has got to be greater than SI. So let's jump into that. Credibility. How competent, capable are they? Do they know things? How long have they spent doing what they're doing? Do they give us confidence that they can do what we need them to do? C, credibility. That would be a score of 1 to 10. R, reliability. Do they do what they say they're going to do? Are they consistent? Have they got a good track record? How reliable are they in your interactions with them? R, 0 to 10. And then I, this is slightly more, I don't know what the word is, but how do they make us feel? So the I stands for intimacy, and it's about how they make us feel. Do they make us feel secure? Do they feel safe sharing information? This intimacy score comes from empathy and vulnerability and emotional intelligence. How much do we feel that we can be intimate with this person? And then you add all of those up and you divide them by SI, which is self-interest. We can all smell someone who is more interested in themselves than us. Now, a high level of self-interest will always result in a lower level of trustworthiness. So that might play out as selfishness. It might play out as they're a bit self-obsessed, or they turn all conversations back to themselves. If that person does that, it doesn't matter how credible, reliable, or intimate you feel with them, they will have a lower trust equation than someone who is, the polar opposite of that. So there we go. No, like, trust. That was a big one. Next up, research the regulars. This is so bloody easy, but I don't think many people do it. The regulars in a network, those people who have been going and are part of the tribe, are really close to loads of people. So if you're going into a new network, before you go, scope it out a little bit, find out who's going. For me, this one is like having a cheat sheet before a big exam. It's like, just find out who the key players are, what they're passionate about, how you can weave in conversations that are aligned to their interests, going back to that like thing, and you will inevitably do better and build relationships faster than if you don't. So research the regulars. There's a couple more, and I'm racing through it because I'm conscious of time. In the world of networking, as Bob Berg says, generosity is your secret weapon. If you look to get before you look to give, networking will be a lonely and dusty road. Be someone who offers insight, assistance, or even a well-timed joke. Give in first will always establish you as like a valuable connection to someone who creates positive and memorable impressions on them. And I always see it as an emotional bank account, right? When I refer to people, I don't expect to receive straight away. I don't receive to get referrals back straight away. But I know that at some point, when I keep giving and giving and giving, at some point their cup will overflow and they will start going, I really need to support this person back. So just, that's a tip for you. Give before you expect to receive. And then this final tip, the fortune is always in the follow-up. So many people don't have regular one-to-ones. They meet people at networking events and they go into their normal lives and they get busy and then they see someone again, but you will never get to that know, like, and trust without the 7-11-4. So the beauty of the follow-up is it's that second location. It's a second opportunity to spend more time with someone. If you really, really, really want to network like a pro, the fortune will always be in the follow-up. So there we go. I've rushed through. In summary, ladies and gents, have a goal. If you don't, you won't get the results that you want. Really think about and practice and perfect your pitch. Use 7-11-4 in your daily lives to think about how excuse me, you can start to turn the dial in your favor by spending more time and getting people to consume more of your stuff. Understand, know, like, and trust. Research the regulars and give before you expect to receive. But most important, possibly of all, if you just follow up, you will get better results. There we go. Ta-da! And the good news is I did all of that work without really using any of the tips or many of the tips from the Network Like a Pro guide. So if you did want to download it, you'd be very welcome to do so, or we can distribute a link in the newsletter for sure. There we go. I'm over my self-imposed 12 to 18 minute time limit. So I'm gonna go, let's move on.